Hello and welcome to another Tuesday at 2 episode. We are excited you're here. On behalf of my sister, Allison Nissen, and I, we'd love to welcome you just to have a 30-minute conversation where we can celebrate another woman in business. And this week, we are so excited to have Neela here because her story is something that is pretty common that we've all experienced in the last year, but she's one of the few that did a great job of when her industry took a major hiatus. So to introduce Neela, in 2020, the award-winning wedding designer, Neela Asaadi, her business seemed to stop overnight. As a result of the pandemic, the wedding industry faced several challenges. However, the baby industry was blooming, and in 2021, Lullaby Nee was born. And Neela, thank you so much for being here. We can't wait to hear more about your business and learn how you kind of took this opportunity to launch another platform. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with kind of that moment that you recognize that something needs to change. So we'll start kind of in the middle where, a lot of your wedding clients are on hold, weddings are starting to get pushed on hold, and you're in this moment of like, okay, what do I do now? And can you kind of help us understand how you walk through that time?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you had mentioned, many of us were kind of feet stuck in the mud, and were trying to be really positive and optimistic about their industry, how they were going to work with clients moving forward. But I just noticed that there was just crickets around me, and I was doing a really active job at supporting my existing wedding clients. But since everything seemed up in there was a lot of unknown. We all kind of had our hands tied. And so that left me with a lot of free time to think and just try to be creative in a different lane. I'm a designer by trade. So, inspiration and creativity does happen pretty organically, but when you are so routine in what you're doing, you kind of have to think outside the box. So natural conversations were starting to develop with clients who didn't necessarily want to postpone or delay their weddings, but they really just wanted to, start a family with their partners. So, paying attention to the conversations I was having, I noticed that the baby industry was really going to take off. And using my existing skill set, I was really interested in kind of pursuing that path. So, one afternoon, I kind of like got out my scrapbook and I started just doing some like doodles and sketches of like baby characters and cartoons and little, like creating a separate line to what I had, usually been doing. And one thing led to another, and I found myself really immersed in this world of baby. And I ended up with a whole collection that I said this could be really great artwork for a nursery, for some stationery. And the ball kind of kept rolling and rolling. And it led to this entire new brand. So I think when you kind of allow yourself to go down a completely separate path and not really have expectation, but just allow yourself to like be with what you're supposed to be doing, really interesting things can happen.
Well, and I love how you say it, that you all of a sudden you notice what your customers were saying, which as an entrepreneur, that's always like the number one key that any entrepreneur has to do is listen to their customers to stay relevant. But then you just chose to immerse yourself and allow your creativity to flow, because I know, Lullaby Nee has this like one-stop shop. So everything from stationery to pictures on the wall to photo books, and you allowed yourself to, just kind of see what happens and flow, with building this business. When you were having that initial, I think it was a weekend, but maybe kind of kept extending into exploring it. How did you at some point know that this is like, okay, I can launch another line of business?
I think I kind of, saw that there was an opportunity to kind of collect all of the material that I had created. And, use the skills that I had. So knowing that a sketch can turn into a piece of stationery that can be potentially sold on an e-commerce website, opposed to everything being so customized, I kind of had to retrain myself and say, look at this from a new perspective, but also see how you're presenting a solution to people. So I know that a lot of the time people can, if they want to announce the birth of their child, they'll go on paperless posts or minted. But why not curate something that feels a little more boutique and a little more personalized, and kind of serve the needs of prospective clients.
Neela, what's really fun about this story is like you're creating branding for babies.
Yeah, that's true.
They get their own stationery. They have like letterhead. They have the matching photos or sketches on their walls. And it'd be really cool if you could eventually turn it into bedding or something. Anyway, but I want to ask about your name. How'd you come up with the name Lullaby Me?
Yeah, so that was also kind of something that hit me, like it kind of came to me overnight. And that's actually when I was like, maybe this could be a brand, separate from my existing wedding business. So in Farsi, which is the language I grew up speaking in my house, being Persian, Lala means to sleep. So it's kind of a term that was always like, mentioned when every time we wanted to go to bed or if someone was napping. So I kind of took that and, spun it off of lullaby and wanted to incorporate my name somehow in the brand, just so that it had a personal attachment to it. So I thought it was, catchy and memorable. So that's how Lullaby Me came out.
Lala.
Yeah.
Does it work for dogs?
That's different.
Well, I love that. That's a great story. And it's great to have it so personalized. And when I was, looking at your website, some of the things you do, the one thing that I wish you were around 18 years ago when I was having my first babies was the photo book or the memories book, because you do get really busy as a mom, especially like with newborns. And next, they're 12 months old and you didn't document as much. Can you share, your photo book?
Yeah. So I'll give the backstory. My sister is 9 years older than I am. She has two sons now. So one is 3.5 and one is now 7 months old. And my sister works full time and she is a busybody. I call her Superwoman because she always has her hands full, but she is someone who doesn't necessarily have the time to take the 1 month card, snap a photo, take the 2 month card, snap a photo. So I kind of used her as inspiration. And I was like, it would be so convenient to have something that was almost automated every month, drop into her inbox, and essentially be a quick Google form that she would just fill out. And then after 12 months, have a year-long memory book with, different moments from that month that were super memorable and that the parents and the child can kind of look back on and be like, wow, this is when you had your first giggle. This is when you said mama. This is when you started to do all of these things, and just make it a really beautiful keepsake that they can have. You can share with grandparents, you can share with friends. So I actually created a prototype when my first nephew was born, and kind of tweaked it, and then realized that this was actually something that I think a lot of parents would love and appreciate. And my dad, who's a grandparent now, leaves it on the coffee table and will kind of just scan through it. And I actually think for grandparents, it's really fun and it makes such a great gift. So that was kind of the goal, to make it super seamless for the parent, but also super rewarding in the end, and something that they can always keep.
This is a product that I agree with Marcy. I totally needed this when my kids were little, because my pictures are still in giant boxes in a closet. They've moved with me a number of times, but they're still in the same boxes. So, hey, But, I wonder if I could just start making books now. I mean, take some of the pictures I have and some of the memories I have and actually create a memory book now. I mean, what a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of just knowing that the direction we're going in and that we have all of these photos stored on our phone, but then what happens with them?
Yeah.
And it's rare for us to still print out photos. I'm a big scrapbooker and I love having photos and images all around my home and my room. And I think this is a great way to kind of do both. So that's kind of the goal in mind.
And tell me about you have a counting set as well.
The numbers learning set.
The numbers learning set.
Yeah, so those are actually, there's a whole, I guess, line of educational flashcards. So this is actually for someone who's not a newborn, but probably anywhere from 2 to 2.5 and up. And so these are language learning flashcards. So on one side will be an image of either numbers, colors, shapes, or fruits and vegetables. And on the opposing side will be what it is in English. And then also you can choose from French, Spanish, and Italian. So again, pulling from my own family, my nephew, started to pick up a couple Spanish words, and we're like, it'd be really cool if he learned some basics like numbers and fruits and veggies. So these are things that, in our own home that we use with him, and he loves them. And I think it's a great way to kind of pull away from the iPad or the TV and do something interactive, especially if you're out and you want to, educate your child. Why not do it in a way that feels a little more authentic opposed to screen time? So,
but I know when I had, especially the more kids you have, the more like primary colors you have in the house, and there's just like kind of toys that kind of get left out. So what I love about your numbers is they do match, like they match the flow of the other decorations. So I just imagine my house with the primary colors clashing with all my light blues and pinks. you have something that matches. So, and Neela, I'd love to ask you a little bit more about, so you have the wedding business and you were doing that for a while. Can you share us a little bit about that before I kind of ask you another question about just entrepreneurial and I'd love to starting with some of that wedding.
Yeah, absolutely. So I find myself, I keep like falling into these industries, but when I started my business back in 2017, I was doing just small business branding. That was something I had been doing freelance when I was in college and really enjoyed. So when I graduated, I started my business and I had a couple clients, and then a couple people I knew reached out to me who were getting married, and they said, hey, we would love for you to custom design our wedding invitations. Is that something you would be comfortable with? And I found myself loving working with people who were getting married so much. And it created such a different sensation for me because it was really personal and intimate and special and different for each person. And I love kind of pulling together all the details and creating a visual narrative that represents somebody. And the same way I was doing that, doing small business branding, I thought doing it for weddings was really satisfying. And I'm definitely a sucker for love and hopeless romantic. So it didn't really feel like work anymore. It just felt like I was doing what I was meant to do. So it started off with invitations, and then it kind of led to all of the details that follow that, and anything from building out a website for the couple. So it kind of just was curated for whatever the couple needed, and it just evolved from that point on.
When I love how it, coordinates. So you have the wedding planner that might help with the day, but there's still so many different pieces to pull it all together, to have somebody like you kind of pull the whole story together could just peace of mind, save them time, make it have that feeling that you want. I think that's such a neat spin. So my entrepreneurial question for you, because I know you've done that, you've done some planning. event planning, and then the baby. How is an entrepreneur, like, can you give some of our members advice when you're thinking about starting a business? How do you know what the difference between, hey, this is a good idea, to like, hey, I need to move forward? Can you share a little bit of your perspective on that question?
Yeah. Um, I think I think sometimes when we let fear get in the way of doing something that we want to do, we don't ever take that step. And sometimes it requires a little bit of a nudge, but I think when you allow yourself to, again, fully immerse in something and just commit to it and try it out, if you think that one person out there you will be solving a solution for them,
Mhm.
commit to that. Just because at least I know that I am in the solution driven industry. And I always ask myself, like, is this something that somebody would need or want? Or is this something they don't even know that they need or want? But would this be appealing or attractive to them? And sometimes it requires, asking family or friends first, or kind of creating something and putting it out into the world. And I know for Lala by Me, for example, I kept wanting to wait to perfect my website and saying, well, I don't have enough material yet. I'm still not ready. And then I kind of just set a date for myself. And I said, you know what, I'm going to launch in January. It's a new year and I feel really good about what I have. And I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to send an email, introduce it to the world, and I'm going to wait for feedback. And then you always can adjust along the way. But I think it's really important to, invest in yourself and trust that you have something to share. And if you're, again, solving a solution for someone, that deserves to be seen.
But I love how you say it, because it's a matter of like, so you have this idea, you want to do it. And then the second you say you want to do it and you think you're going to do it, then fear sets in.
Yep.
And your approach is so nice because you're like, well, just actually narrow it down to one person. And is it a solution for one person? And then ask some feedback on this one person, because then you're not overwhelmed with like taking this major leap. You're really just starting with one concept, and that way you can make some iteration. So for yourself, when you talk about like the, say the entrepreneurial fear that a lot of people have, and yours was, it was the perfect storm with an industry that was hit by COVID much more than some other industries. And I'm sure that had some fear. What's your strategies for, I guess, embracing it, maybe mitigating it, but how do you handle fear?
Yeah. Well, knowing that the whole world alongside me was kind of going through this storm of unknown, and it's definitely easier said than done, but almost just like embracing the discomfort and knowing that, again, I know that I have something to offer, and kind of getting through those hurdles of self-doubt and just not really letting your mind consume like what you have to do and what your mission is.
Mhm.
So it's sometimes just about like powering through and like patting yourself on the back for knowing like how far you've come and what is to come.
She's on mute.
You were able to take your client base that you'd already had and find out if any of them needed your assistance with baby things. So that strategy of, in some ways, you just were stair stepping from your client base to having them recognize you as somebody else that they could turn to for something. Those relationships, how did you maintain? How did you reach out? What was your first steps when you were trying to establish yourself?
I think inherently my goal has always been to develop a relationship with my clients and almost, not let it be kind of like a one-off. I try to always keep in touch with people in general and maintain a relationship. So what felt really nice about this segue was that, people get married, and then, that could be the end of our conversation. But I was like, wow, what an amazing way that I can kind of still be a part of this person's journey and life and continue on this path with them, knowing actually what their preferences are about certain things and what their relationship is like, and what their background is and what their culture is and where they live, and what their goals are, what kind of career and industry are they in. So the another reason why Lullaby Me, I think, fell into my lap was because I was so excited about, growing with my clients who really were the stepping stone of my business through the wedding process. So when I initially reached out, it was so refreshing because people that I had already knew and worked with and trusted me, we had that relationship. And so again, it was like kind of a building block that, again, I wanted to present the solution to them, knowing, hey, you're having a baby. What can I offer you? How can I help? How can I be of service? And let's, you're having a child for the first time. Let's do this together. So it kind of becomes like a lifetime friendship and partnership.
How did you start with your reaching out? Did you just reach out generically, or did you reach out individually to people?
A little bit of both. So when I was kind of testing out some of the ideas as far as the Watch Me Grow book and some of the learning sets, I would ask people, would this be something you'd be interested in? I mean, I know some people are really crafty and maybe they want to do each monthly milestone themselves and they don't need a book, which is 100% okay. Whereas people like my sister were the perfect candidate. So there were some individual emails, a couple text messages, a couple phone conversations. But then when I really launched, I sent a newsletter to, my entire address book saying, Asaadi Graphics is having a baby and I'm introducing a new brand. And, the most rewarding feeling is feeling supported by your network. And you usually don't think it's going to go that way, just because, again, fear kicks in, self-doubt kicks in. And so nothing is better than that feeling. And then getting feedback is even better because you can build and grow upon that.
Yeah, it is true. Like having that trust in yourself because you know what you want, and then having that trust extended into your network. And there's always the inner circle and then there's the broader network. But I do love this idea of like kind of following your clients, what's relevant, and then taking your strengths, which stems from your graphic design background. And then went into like, the marketing and the branding and doing that, but just applying it different ways. So another thing that you've done, I know I personally was a client for you, but party planning. So when it comes to pulling a party, that's a natural, like in the wedding industry, you had to do it. A lot of times there's baby showers. And then, for our family, you did it for a graduation party. But can you share a little bit more about, how to do a successful, planning business?
Yeah, sure. So I think this is less of a acquired skill and an inherent skill, just because growing up in my household, we, again, being Persian, we were always hosting family and some friends over. So it kind of became something within me that I loved, bringing people together and knowing just how to execute an event and kind of thinking again of all the details along the way. So I think first off, it's just about being organized and kind of thinking of plan A to Z. So taking into account weather, taking into account food and catering, and what if the caterer doesn't show up, and what is the music going to be, and who is your audience? Are you serving alcohol? Are you not serving alcohol? And tying together, the visual aesthetic elements. Do you want to do tablecloths? Do you want to do flowers? Do you want to do just greenery? And again, similar to the work that I do, it's about creating an atmosphere that represents the occasion. So I think in order to execute a successful event, you have to be thorough and, just think about past experiences and what did you like about a celebration that you went to, and what would you have done differently? And then always keep in mind budget. And then if you want to provide some sort of entertainment, what can that look like? And, there's different ways of doing everything. But I think what's really nice is about making each moment and each gathering really special so that it's a memory that people can walk away with.
Yeah, that's what I really liked about it, because, throwing a party or, doing something, it can be pretty straightforward. And at the same time, if you want it to have a certain feeling, and then you as a host don't want to be stressed about it, what I loved is, well before the date and anything we had kind of thought, you asked me really thoughtful questions I never even thought of. And then because of that, I was like slowly making decisions that were kind of, helping to kind of have the pillars of it. So everything was kind of figured out. So by the time the party arrived, it was just, I could really just enjoy it. And I knew it was kind of creating that celebration I wanted for my daughter who's graduating from high school. So I found that to be a great experience. And really, I could see how that would help as a mom, as a bride, and all the different things that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest takeaway is don't stress about it too much. I mean, have fun. If you're having a party, have a party.
Right.
And you should be a guest and you should enjoy it. So plan ahead and just embrace the moment that you're creating.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Neela, this has been a really fun conversation. And if people wanted to get in touch with you about Lullaby Knee or about party planning, how might they do that?
Sure. So my website is lullabyknee.com, and you can email me at hello@lullabyknee.com. And you can follow us on Instagram. It's lullaby.nee. And please feel free to reach out with any questions, and happy to answer anything along the way.
Yeah. Well,
I will tell you that our mom, Marcy and I will both agree with this particular one, but when you're having a party and everything's crazy and you're like, what should I be doing? She's like, go get yourself ready. Don't worry about anything else. Just get you ready, and then everything else will be fine.
I love that. And it couldn't be more accurate.
When I feel good, everything goes well. That's the theory.
Show up as your best self. Exactly.
Well, for those of you that are joining us live, we are going to welcome you to kind of the after show where we get a chance to speak and have a little more of a conversation. And for those of us for you on the YouTube and the recording, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.